Hi everyone, this is Sumit Tandon. Let me give you a brief about myself. I'm Sybase Database Administrator. I have extensive experience in Sybase ASE IQM replication. So this is my first video where I'm going to tell about what is Sybase. For the beginners, it is good to learn. If they want to change their domain or field, they can start learning Sybase. They should know the basics. So I'm going to begin with the basics in Sybase. Couple of things which I'll cover in my all videos. Today I'm going to cover only architecture, and then later the installation, upgradation part, tuning, database user access, backup and recovery most important, and the monitoring, troubleshooting, maintenance, and database consistency checks. If you got an idea how to do this, what exactly we have to do being a DBA, so you will be learning a lot of stuff, and you can then try and test on the test server, and obviously you can go to the live servers as well. Okay, let's start with the architecture. So in Sybase, when we call a Sybase server, we have a data server and the backup server. Okay, the two processes which run at OS level, that is data server and backup server. The data server is exactly where the data is lying, okay, where user connect and do the operations, and the backup server is only for taking the backups of the data server. So that is the only you can say functionality of a backup server, nothing else, the transactional backups or full backups. And then if you're talking about the architecture, then definitely we will talk about the devices also. And the devices can be a file system, a flat file system, or a raw devices which need to be engaged with Sybase database server, and where we build the databases. In a server, in a Sybase server, there are number of databases. There can be number of databases, and yes, there are some default databases also when we create the server, a new server. And then we have some configuration parameters which I will tell you later. Okay, so in the architecture there is a memory module also. Obviously this Sybase is running in multiple platforms. In Unix there are multiple flavors, in Linux there are multiple flavors, even in Windows. Okay, so there are memory modules, which why we call it memory modules, because whatever is happening on the server, either the programming area, or you can say data is getting stored, we are fetching the data, users are connecting to the data servers, there are a lot of things, databases, objects called tables, procedures. So everything which is being happening on the server, it's use some memory. Okay, so Sybase data server run as a single process. That's I told you in the previous slide. It's a single process, and another process is a backup process, which is used for taking the backups only, right? And we called, there is a term total memory, or you can say a physical memory is a total memory which we allocate to Sybase. In at OS level, there is a memory being configured for particular Sybase. Okay, so if I'll tell you, it is not written over in this PPT. So when we are going to build a Sybase server at OS level, it can be Linux or Unix or Windows. So we first create one Sybase account, because we want to have a unique identity through which we we will be going to able to access the Sybase server, right? So we create a Sybase account with the Sybase users. Generally, we do that, and then through that particular Sybase login at Unix level or OS level, you can say, we create this entire server. We build the server. Okay, so the memory allocated to the particular that account, which is going to use the memory or CPU or IOs. Okay, at OS level. So architecture is saying about the memory module, then transaction processing. Why we call it the transactions process? Because it is like a OLTP or LOP server, which is like having a number of transactions being happening on the server, on the logs or the data devices. And whenever some transaction happened over the database and it got interrupted or got in the rollback status, so the caches being pages got discarded from the cache. So transaction logs used to restore data in the event failure. That is called a transaction part of the data. There is a two part. One is the data part, one is the transaction part. So transaction part having the transaction logs, and the data part is the data which been committed and written to the disk. And Sybase itself run some checkpoints. That is an internal process which execute in Sybase to flush those pages from the memory which has already been committed. The transaction got committed and it went to the disk, and those pages need to be flushed out so that the log segment is always having some free space for the new transactions. And even there is a term called lock. Whenever some transactions happen, it acquires a lock. But it can be a shared lock, exclusive lock. So there are multiple kind of locks in Sybase. But right now we are talking about the overview. So few terminologies you should know: the memory, the transaction log, data segments, log segments, checkpoints, and locks. These things you should aware what does that mean. Okay. So the backup procedure. I already told you it's a dump database operation can be performed when the database is online or offline. We can take it in both manner. Subsequent dump transaction commands need to be issued during the day to ensure acceptable recovery windows. So it means like we take sometime dump transactions command. We can schedule the dump transaction. Suppose I have taken a full backup of a Sybase server in the morning around 6 a.m. and then it is scheduled on daily basis, and the next will full backup will happen on the next day. So whatever is happening in the entire day during the business, we can take the transactional dumps also, or we can schedule the transactional backups. Either depends upon the kind of a data being updated. So we can have a 5 minutes, 10 minute, 15-minute transactional backup which we can schedule. Okay, or we can take it manually as well whenever it's required. And obviously if we are taking the backup, there will be a recovery procedure. That is, recovery means we are loading the data back to the system. That is a load database. And if we are loading the transactional dumps, that is called load transactions. Okay. So we have security and account setup as well. Okay, that is through Sybase. ASE is a system administration password. ASE is the user. Okay, the system administrator user, through which is the main master key, you can say, for the Sybase server. By default, if we install Sybase, so ASE login automatically got created. Most of the time, I know it comes with a null password. We can create the password later on, and then we can add new logins whenever it is required. If we are creating a server for the business use, so as per the business demand, we can create a new logins on that. But ASE is only for a DBA, for database administrator. And then we call user. Now there is a difference in login and a user. Login means it is a server wide. We are creating a login on Sybase server. Okay, so the user can log into the server. The user can connect to the Sybase server, but when we assign a database to a login, that login used as a user in the database. In a particular database, we call it as a user, and on server level or global, we can call it as a login. Okay, so that is the main difference. Login we add to the particular database, that is called user. Okay, so one login can have access to all the databases or some specific database as well. And now creation of the database. Okay, we have to, I told you, we have to create the database. There is a command for create database, database name, on which device we want to create, and then we create tables in that particular database. The objects, it can be table, procedures, views. Okay, so tables got stored on a segment. And what is segment? It is just an area within a device, or we can call, we generally label it to get understand. Otherwise, there is no such thing called segment, but it's a label. Okay, that is allocated for a particular database. And the transaction log stores in its own segment, that is called log segment. Okay, on a separate device. Better to have on a separate device, not on the same device where we are storing a data, because otherwise it will be hard to recover a data. So better, the best practice called, we should have a data segment on a different device and a log segment on a different device. If you're talking about the Sybase server, okay, so when we create, we can say, when you are building a Sybase server, there are some default databases got installed. Few of them I have listed over here. That is called master, model, Sieve system pro, Sieve system DB, TempDB, and few of optional one. So master database, obviously by the name you can say it's a brain of the server, the master database. Okay, which controls the operation of adaptive server and store information about all the user tables and their associated database devices. It has all the information like list of the logins which are there, how many databases been there in the particular server, number of devices, page usages, everything is there in the master. If we are, if we are doing anything destructive, or we are doing something, creating or adding something in the database, everything will be got updated in the master database. Suppose if we are creating a database or altering the database, creating a new disk, dropping a new disk, doing disk mirroring, that's all related to the architecture level. Everything is going to be updated in the master database. And yes, master database has some constraints, like 6656 is the logical pages is least required. Okay, because it has to store the data. And when we are talking about the building up the Sybase server, it start building up on the pages. So there is a concept comes over here, the page size of the Sybase server. What is the page size? Generally you have listened, what is the page size of the Sybase server? So it can be, it starts from 2K, 4K, 8K and 16K. I have listed over here how much 2K page, 4K page or 8K page. Take the 13 MB, 26 MB, because I am talking about 6656 logical pages, which is minimum one. According to that, this calculation has been done. Okay. So these are the pages which we can configure, and it can't be changed. Remember, once you have created the Sybase server, built the Sybase server, suppose you have built the Sybase server at 2K, you cannot change it later on. Suppose after 6 months or 1 year, whenever you want to change the page size, you have to rebuild it. Okay, you have to rebuild the server. It is not dynamic. Then we comes up a model database. Its adaptive server includes model database, which provides a template. It is just like a template. Suppose why we are calling templates, it's like we are creating the application databases. Okay, so when we create application database, suppose create database name ABC, it, the database got created, but how it got created, it picks the template from model. So such things are available already. The templates are available in Sybase server in model database. Okay, now we have some system databases. SIP system procs. SIP system procs by name, it's you can say it is used in a database to execute a system stored procedures. There are by default system stored procedures which start with sp underscore. Suppose sp who, which will give you what is happening, what is currently running on the server. Sp who. Okay. SP monitor will give you the CPU and IO usage. SP underscore help DB will tell you the list of the databases. Okay, so many store procedures are already been there when we build a Sybase server. Few of them I have written over here. SP underscore add users. Okay, and whenever we are building this some store procedure, better to save it in SIP system procs, the customized store procedure, so that we can globally access that store procedure. And if we are doing any kind of a changes, obviously it will be, it will affect the SIP system proc. Now the most important another one is temp DB. It is a temporary database. Okay, and we need it, not every business need it, because whatever transactional transactions take place at ASE level, ASE is Adaptive Server Enterprise, Sybase server level, it requires some temporary space to complete the operations. And sometime you have seen, if you are from the development side, or you know how the data operations work, so sometimes we need to create a temporary tables for the calculation purpose, or getting data from some table and then inserting into some other table, doing some comparison. So many things happen. So there, it depends upon the functionality, how your data is. Okay, so temporary database is most important, and it is the shared one. Every user can use it. Even we can bind the user, because now in Sybase we have a concept called multiple temp DBs. We can create a user temp DBs also, and we can bind them if we have some critical user which need its own area to work. We don't want any kind of a interruptions, then we can have a temp DB. Multiple temp DB concepts also available. So now where I was. Okay, so now this is the thing. You can just go through with this slide. I have covered most of the things over here. And again, it is if we are say, I was saying that like 2K, 4K, 16K. Obviously, if we have set the page size, okay, at the during the server build, so all the databases devices will follow the same rule. Okay, it is not like that one database have 2K and another database having 4K. No, across the server it will be the same. So 1105 is one of the example I have given. It's the error number when we see that there is not enough space in the temp DB, so we have to monitor it. Temp DB is most important. If your temp DB got full, your system will stop working. Even sometime it happens, no user will able to log in also. You can't run a single command on the Sybase server. Sometime even DBA logging through SA user also not able to log in. So that is the reason the concept come temp, multiple temp DB, where we can bind the users. Okay. SIP security. It is used for auditing purpose. We were talking about the security. Here it is. SIP security. There are auditing tables in the Sybase for the which contains the audit trail. Okay, and we there are commands, there are queries which you can use. You can pick the data from the sys audit options table. Okay, so another we have SIP system TempDB, and it stored the distributed transaction information. Okay, ASC version 12 and later can provide transaction coordination services for transactions that are propagated to remote server using remote procedure calls, that is called RPCs or CIS, component integration system. Information about remote servers participating in distributed transaction is stored in a sys coordinations table. I think it is very much clear here. Like all the remote users, remote logins, and doing the distributed transactions, we can get the data from sys coordination table. And it is like Sybase, the transactions happening. It's a two-phase commit protocol. Okay, and all information is available over here for the with the SIP system TempDB. We can fetch all those details if we want. Generally, if we're doing troubleshooting or we want to know some kind of a orphan processes, a lot of stuffs are there which we can use. And during the troubleshooting time, we can use this SIP system TempDB. Okay, to get some details. Then we have Sieve MGMT. Generally, I don't see most of the people don't use it because we have autosaves, we have a control amp for the job schedulers, and so this database is also there, which is used for the internal job scheduler task need for processing. Okay, so like we are doing some maintenance and we have some jobs need to schedule. So this database is generally made for managing those kind of a stuff related to the scheduled jobs or jobs information, you can say. Now this is the optional database, DBCCDB. Okay, we can create it, but it is when if we want to run DBCC check storage. Okay, if we run DBCC check storage, we should have DBCCDB database. Otherwise, all the other database consistencies checks can be run without this particular database. But this check storage record configuration information for the application database on which we are running, or the activity is happening on that particular database where we are running the check storage. Okay, so it store the information and give us the result of that operations. So it need particular space. Okay, it have some stored procedures, so which is the reason we need DBCCDB database additionally to generate a report. Next we have SIP database. It is Sybase technical support may create this. It is true. Okay, SIP database, because generally if we want to do some kind of a debugging or we want to diagnose some configuration parameters, at that period we need SIP. Okay, now we have SIP utility. It is called a SIP utility also. Now we can run the SIP directly. Okay, it also generates the report. We have already we already discussed about this logical page, so it's right. The database objects are built with logical pages. A database is and any of its relative object must use the same logical page size that I have already told you, and this is goes with the 2K, 4K, 8K. Okay, this is the same thing. And this is the overview I have given you related to the Sybase, the system databases. Okay, there are system tables in that in master, like you can say most frequently used, I will tell you, that is sys processes. Sys processes is the table which being used to get the current processing which is running, to get the information about that. So when we do sp underscore who store procedure, it also picks the data from the sys processes, and sys processes table lying in the master database. So all system tables are there in the master database. Sys logins is another one, which is having the information about the login details. If we are talking about the database, then again terminology is very simple. Database, we are talking about database, then sys database is the table name. We are talking about the devices, then sys devices is the table name. We are talking about the logins, then we have a sys logins. Okay, so these are the tables which we generally use. Okay, so wait for my next video. This is just a glimpse of a Sybase. We will talk more detailed in our next video. So thanks a lot for your time and choosing my video to learn Sybase. Thank you.